What is up, my triggers? Eccentric Hat here. Welcome to the first MRAdio of 2021. With me are my usual guests, Philip and Elizabeth, and we also have Mike here as a special. He was here at Christmas. He's obviously, as you know, from the party that Elizabeth is actually the current chair of, Justice for Men and Boys. And he's done an awful lot of work for men's rights around the country and around the world. So everybody, please give a warm welcome to Mike.
Thanks.
Hi, Mike.
By special, do you mean special needs? Is that kind of the sense of it?
I would like to believe that special means that you can do magic tricks.
Evidence would suggest otherwise, but thank you, Hat. That's very kind.
So guys, how have you been spending the first month of 2021? Is it lived up to all the promise that getting rid of 2020 was supposed to be?
I would say it's even better, even more lockdown, even more COVID. It spreads faster, it spreads wider.
There's the super COVID that's been announced, the mega COVID, and all it reminds me of is like this bit in Family Guy where Peter pitches that there should be a sequel to Jaws called Bigger Jaws, where like the crew of the boat and Jaws have to team up to fight a bigger shark, and that's kind of how COVID feels like. It's like we were ready to get rid of COVID, but now comes super COVID. And we have to team up with COVID to fight it.
It doesn't affect me up here really. I mean, I live in such a small village. I'm pretty much doing my usual life. I even have my shop open. I cut hair to people that are adventurous enough to break the rules. So yeah.
Do you sniff and kiss the your clients just like our president?
I have no idea what president you're talking about, because
not my president.
Not my president. First of all, because I live in Scotland, not America, and even if I was in America, he would still not be my president, because I believe in fair elections.
That's so going to get this video taken down.
Absolutely. Elizabeth, how was your first month?
Yeah, good. Very busy. Men's human rights activists are very busy at the moment, wouldn't you say, Mike and Philip?
Very busy.
There are many plans in the works, and I hope that 2021 will be a grand year of raising awareness of issues that men and boys are facing and increasing the grassroots support for positive change.
I'm very interested what you guys are working on, and I'm also very happy to share what we are working on. Also, if there are people watching live right now, I don't know, can we see?
I have no idea.
Okay. Feel free to send us some questions over the course of this this chat. I think we're going to keep it to 1 hour. Is that correct?
Probably, yeah.
Somewhere around that, yeah.
So feel free to say hi. Feel free to send us some questions, and we're going to try to answer them in between. Mike, may I ask you, what are you currently working on, and what do you think is happening in regards to men's issues at the moment in the UK?
Oh, that's a very good question. I can only talk about stuff that I'm sort of increasingly interested in, and it's kind of around the distinction between the problems that men face, or the disadvantages, however we want to describe them, and the and potential solutions. And it seems to me, and I've come in for a bit of heat on this from one or two people who I respect, but it seems to me that 99.9% of the overwhelming majority of discussion in the men's movement is around describing the problems.
Mm-hmm.
And very little, actually, very little interest is being shown in. Well, okay. Well, funny enough, I read something the other day about Margaret Thatcher, and who I admire hugely. And she would say after there was some discussion in cabinet about something, and she'd say something like, "Yes, yes, yes, but what are we going to do about it?" And that's kind of where maybe it's because I'm getting on a bit, but I kind of I think we're just, there's so much repetition. If I see one more video that expresses shock at how badly men are treated or blah blah blah, it's like this could have been made last year, it could have been made 10 years ago, it could have been made 30 years ago, And I think it's about time that we got our heads around the really thorny thing about what can we do about it. And something that I want to explore was it was already a bit of a germ of an idea, but it was really prompted by a man who I regard as the most impressive street campaigner on men's issues in the world, and that's a guy called Brother K. He's a California-based. So I can hear some feedback, sorry, some echo somewhere. I don't know whether that's. Thanks, Hat. It's still there. So the criminals are either you, Philip. Okay, yeah, it was you, Philip. You were the criminal all along. So sorry about that. So he recently funded through Facebook fundraisers, or at least that's how he promoted them. And I'm kind of allergic to Facebook, but I might need to sort of get into it. But they've put up 5 billboards by major highways across America. These are like 30 meters wide things, 10 meters deep. They are jaw-dropping. And there's a simple message about MGM. And it's something that I mean, Elizabeth and I were on a discussion thing with 40 or 50 people, I think, Elizabeth, wasn't it? The Barbican Philosophy Group. And there were people coming out with views there about feminism, and it's like, we aren't touching these people. We are literally, so there'd be young men of 18 or 19, 40 and 60 saying, I believe feminism is the pursuit of equality. And it's like, oh dear God, and so I think we need to get into people's faces, and and the mainstream media are not going to give us coverage, so I think we have to pay for that exposure. And so I'm hoping with Elizabeth to this is a this is a world exclusive, Elizabeth, isn't it? And for all I know, it's only the 4 of us here, but never mind, it's a world exclusive. So we're hoping to do a full page advert in the Spectator magazine. But it's £6,500, £7,000. But something really hard hitting that's going to make 75,000 people potentially think, oh shit, what the hell is this? This is different. And one of the reasons I mentioned that is that I posted a comment on a Spectator article just an hour ago. And it was, well, first of all, I got a message on there saying it was moderated, and then and then it was just removed. So I mean, probably the magazine or the periodical, whatever you want to call it, I'd say the number one, certainly that I'm aware of in the UK, is actively censoring us. So it could be, but it could be that I'm hoping in the next 2 or 3 days that that we'll put forward the advert to the Spectator, and they'll say sorry, they won't publish it. And if that happens, then I shall get on to Toby Young, who's the head of the Free Speech Union and a columnist there. So I expect there'll be a battle or two, but we have to win that battle before we start the crowdfunder. So
can I just clarify that when you say you're against MGM, what you mean is male genital mutilation and not Metro Goldwyn Mayer?
Yeah, I've no problem with the. Having said which, somebody told me recently, well, that Goldwyn was a Jewish guy, so maybe there's a nuance there that I missed. I'm not sure in the context of MGM, but Yeah.
Can I just say that V for Vernon is in the chat and he says hello to everybody. V for Vernon is actually the person who did my avatar. So I'm very grateful.
Oh, cool.
Hi, Vernon. Good to see you.
Hi,
So thank you for the question, Philip. So that's what's occupying me. But just a couple of very quick things. Nicola Sturgeon, how has she not so far come out with a complaint about Tory COVID? I think she's missed it, hasn't it? Because I mean, that would be an obvious thing to combine Tories with COVID, I think.
Well, I would say that Nicola Sturgeon at the moment is occupied with her slander against Alex Salmon. So I think they're struggling with internal issues there, and it would be very interesting if it would actually come out that the whole sexual assault allegations was a fabrication by a cabal of venomous harpies in the background. I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm not saying that's not the case. And
no, I agree. And I'm personally hoping to see her ass kicked into the North Sea.
Yeah.
Where where it belongs. I'm also training. I'm on a fairly strict diet and losing a kilo a week. And I'm training for the London Marathon.
Oh wow!
The London Marathon. The London Marathon 2050, because COVID, who knows how long that could last. So, but I'm on the path to 2050.
Good.
And so anybody who wants to know my diet secrets, I'm willing to divulge them for. Basically, you eat half as much as you used to eat, and strictly no alcohol.
Have you ever seen that video? It's like a doctor who is saying he's like I have this cure and it's an amazing cure, and women come to me and they say, how do you have this cure for fatness? And I tell them, this is my wonder cure. It works for everyone. All you have to do is eat less.
Yeah, it's quite true.
But bear in mind, this will only work if you actually eat less.
Yeah, but, it's funny. It's a pure matter of physics. I mean, if you I mean, so I'm I weigh 100 kilos, or did a week or two ago, a month ago. But on 1,000, under 1,000 calories a day, you will lose weight. It's physics. If you introduce emotional stuff into it, you're dead. But if you just do a sort of Jordan Peterson thing, what's that feedback again? Is it that crazy German guy?
Crazy German guy. You got a background.
Yeah. So thanks, Philip. So you will lose. Even I think a small woman on under 1,000 a day will lose weight. It's got bugger all to do with hormones.
How many gins does that work out as?
Sorry, how many?
How many gins can I drink for 1,000 calories a day?
100,000 a day. What?
1,000.
1,000 calories a day.
Oh, I thought I said 100,000 calories a day.
No. I think.
Best though, for a friend.
Elizabeth, I see a bestseller book in you, the gin diet. So rule number one, cut out food.
Elizabeth, can I ask what are you working on currently?
I am doing so much. I am working on a new manifesto for justice for men and boys and the women who love them.
Can we call it a person-a-festo so that we don't insult anybody?
No.
It's a big hairy manifesto.
Yeah, it's a manifesto. And I'm working on some secret things that I can't talk about. We're going to be launching a new website next Wednesday, so I'm getting content ready for that launch. And can we talk about the other thing we've been talking about, Mike? Well, I suppose we can. We've been working on preparing for.
No, we can't. You absolutely can't.
Not even say that it's going to happen.
No.
But everyone knows it's going to happen. It happens every year.
I've no idea what you're talking about, Elizabeth, so go on.
We've been preparing for the ICMI 21, the International Conference on Men's Issues 2021, which is going to be awesome. We've been having some good chats, and it's going to be very interesting and interactive, which means it's a steep learning curve for me and Mike, but it will be great.
Is that supposed to be online, or is it going to be in person?
It's going to be online, yeah. We're not gonna hope.
Well, I was going to propose maybe you could put it on Mars or something like that. You know, like give everybody an excuse to get out.
But we have sorry, Liz, just we have an amazing. Well, Warren Farrell has agreed to be a guest of honor, which is always great. But we have a second American who's a fascinating guy. His name's Stephen Baskerville, and he wrote a book which is just stratospherically good called The New Politics of Sex. And he's been hounded out of 2 academic positions in the States. He now lives with his wife in Romania.
Baskerville's been hounded. Interesting.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure they have. Hopefully, they have a hound. But it's a fantastic book, and he's going to be a great addition, I think, to it. So sorry, Elizabeth, are you okay with me prattling on just for a minute about this?
Yeah, because I don't know what we're allowed to say and what we're not.
All right, okay. Well, we had 120 people last time, and that was too much. It was just way too much. I cursed myself for even coming up with the idea. I don't know what came over me, but so that was 5 days. So this day we're aiming for 3 days, 72 speakers, but it's going to be super interactive. So there's going to be live Q&As, live interviews, and so on. It's going to be amazing. So I've already committed to the software, and it's kind of like it is the world's leading software for events. It's a company called Hoover, WHOVA, from somewhere in California, and I don't know if you remember, Philip, but in Chicago, we used a little bit of their software at the Chicago conference in 19.
In what regard did we use it? Was it used?
Well, things like saying, where to meet. The cigar club is meeting at 6 o'clock.
Ah, right. That was okay.
Yeah, that was them. But they have an absolutely Rolls-Royce product, and it's going to be amazing. So people will be able to set up their own meeting rooms. They'll be able to network without sort of divulging. It's beautiful software. Obviously we didn't charge last time, but I've really got no option but to charge for tickets to this one, because I haven't got the money to pay for that software myself. And with that, I'll put some duct tape over my mouth and let Elizabeth carry on speaking.
Well, I'd like to know what Philip Tanzer's been doing this month.
Well, you know what I've been up to.
Hello.
So we're working on a lot, really a lot. So middle of last year, I started a small organization called GenderParityUK with some people working in there, and we are a small group of people, but we interact with a lot of people working in other organizations.
Philip, I'm sorry, you've set up an organization called GenderParityUK.
Yes.
Okay, you obviously wear a Parity UK.
Yeah, we actually work. So 2 of the guys from Parity UK are also connected to us. So we talk to other people and we interact. And what we have been working on in the last couple of months, and that is really dragging out, and it's very energy consuming, is the current domestic abuse bill, which is currently in the House of Lords. And we are constantly sending emails, personalized emails to the Lords, with specific things that they are interested in. We highlight the ones that don't mention male victims. We give them some information and feedback, and we encourage the ones that did highlight male victims. We work together with organizations that highlight parental alienation. It's a real battle because the London's Victims Commissioner, the Victims Commissioner, and the Domestic Abuse Commissioner, they're all working together with Women's Aid and with certain newspapers to fight against the inclusion of parental alienation in the domestic abuse bill. And what I find really fascinating from a criminal point of view is how these lobby groups work together. How obvious it is that politicians and people in power, like the Victims Commissioner and MP Jess Phillips and some others, are working together very clearly, influencing laws. So that's what we're looking at. That's what we're working on. We are also...
Sorry, Sophie, can I say I take my hat off to you for doing that, because my experience is that it's the most balls-aching, unrewarding, time-consuming. The Victims Commissioner, I think you're referring to Vera Baird.
Yes, yeah.
Who is the most...
We have Vera Baird, who's the Victims Commissioner, and then there's Claire Waxman, who is the London Victims Commissioner, who is currently the one who pushes the most against parental alienation.
Yeah.
Slandering the people that fight for parental alienation to
right.
be...
Sorry, just staying on Vera Baird, she is one of the most ghastly radical feminists in the world, I'd say.
Yeah.
She has such a track record. I mean, there's a guy up in Newcastle who actually, she was a police commissioner up in the northeast for a time.
Yep.
And she came out with some posters on, I think it was on sexual. I mean, they were illegal. They contained stats that were figments, you know. And sorry, I just have a thing, you know.
No, it's fine.
She is so vile. I don't have words for her.
When you Google her, her legacy is that she helped women that killed men to get out of prison.
Justice for women. Justice for women.
And she did that. Yeah. So her focus was really getting female murderers and out of prison, and she is the Victims Commissioner now. And she was actually during the scrutiny committee hearing regarding the domestic abuse bill, she was actually challenged by I think Victoria Atkins because Vera Baird said that female perpetrators need more support, and that female offenders often have a history of domestic abuse. And then Victoria Atkins actually called her out and said, "Are you the Victims Commissioner? If that is the case, why don't you represent male victims as well?" She didn't say it as clear, but that was the tone. And hats off Victoria Atkins.
And I suspect one of the reasons there would be, Philip, that she was challenged quite robustly by Philip Davis in a couple of, because she was a Home Office minister, and Philip took her to task on domestic abuse and MGM. So I think Philip. So hats off to Philip on that. Shall I go and get my duct tape now to put it across my gob so I stop interrupting people?
No. I'm just gonna like two more things that we're working on, and then I'm handing over to Hat. So we are also opposing or criticizing the current Violence Against Women and Girls consultation, which says that it's created to give underrepresented victims of violence against women and girls a voice. Unfortunately, that includes men. But the way the consultation is written is obviously done in a way that male victims do not fill out the consultation because they don't want to hear from male voices. So that's something that we're working on. We contacted the Equalities Commission if we have a case, and they pretty much all outright said, if there is discrimination against men, that's all right, because it's women that face discrimination in society. So that's another thing we're working on. And then the third thing, Mike Bell, one of our guys, he's working towards an APPG, that's a cross-parliamentary group. And he has quite a few names. And even now, I think he has 2 names from the Labour Party, which was really hard work. So he's working on that.
Hats off, Mike Bell.
Yeah, absolutely. So, by the way, I want to say hi to our lovely Deborah Powney, who is in the chat.
Hello, Debs.
Hello, Debs.
And speaking of hats, what's Hat been doing?
How much time do you have? I have been surviving. You know, by my fingertips at a university, in a social science department, where every facet of life revolves around how hard women have it. And what we can do to put the boot into men. I got my results back for my gender studies course. I made a poster, which was part of it was a mandatory part of the course. It was write an essay and make a poster, and I made a poster about intersectionality in America. And I wrote an essay about how the education system is failing boys. And the poster got 58 out of 100.
That was a great poster. I saw that poster.
Wow.
And the essay, which was actually very closely based on a piece of work that I had done in college, and gotten an A for. The essay got 51 out of 100.
Can you, sorry, Had, can you put that in perspective? Are you happy with the outcome? And what was the criticism?
I mean, I'm appalled that a piece of work that was worthy of an A at college very narrowly passes. And the criticism was things like I didn't use enough of her sources. I didn't use the books that she wanted me to use. You know, I used people like Warren Farrell. You know, so that didn't go down well. Christina Hoff Sommers, you know, like totally unwarranted. She actually wrote, I know you disagree with these people, but you should be using them.
Hat, you surely can't be surprised, are you?
No, I'm appalled in the sense that it's wrong, not that it comes as a shock. You know, like I can still see something. I don't want to get to the state where I'm ambivalent towards these kinds of things. I want to still feel the injustice. But yeah, like there was a point where, for example, in my essay, I said I linked to a study where it said that teachers mark down boys because boys are rowdier. Girls tend to be quieter, and teachers will give them higher grades because they like them more, even if the work is of the same quality. And I linked this study and quoted from it, and she wrote, "What's the relevance of this?" in an essay, which the question is our education system letting down boys? She said, what is the relevance of a study that says teachers actively mark them down? And she also said, you talk about girls being quiet. You should have linked this to socialization, how girls are socialized to be quiet.
Oh,
you know, so I'm supposed to make her arguments for her. I didn't link it to socialization because it's bollocks. Girls aren't socialized to be quiet.
But it's funny in the discussion Elizabeth and I had with this philosophy group. I don't know if this was in the main group, Elizabeth, or in the closed group, but I pointed out this thing. It goes back to 1987-88, that academic year, when O levels were replaced by GCSEs in the UK, and so that introduced continuous assessment for the first time, and therefore it's not just female teachers. Male teachers have a strong bias towards girls, and we'll give them higher marks for the same quality work as boys, and that led to girls from the education gender gap started that year. Yeah. I mean, William Collins has the most amazing graph on this. And so I was trying to explain to this, I guess he was a philosophy academic, that gender education gap has been with us since then, and that accounts in large part, I think, for why 60% of university students today across the Western world, I think, on average, are women. He just couldn't. It was really bizarre at times, Elizabeth, wasn't it? He just couldn't sort of get to it. Anyway, sorry.
Can I interrupt?
I need to.
No. Can I interrupt real quick? We have a question from Stephen Hatton. Where is ICMI 2021, and when is ICMI 2021?
Okay. ICMI 21 will be in the same location as ICMI 20. And the other question was what? When? Probably. Let me think now. I think it's something like 18th to the 21st of November. No, it's online because of COVID. But I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to the next physical ICMI, and I'm hoping that we're going to do that in Canada. And there's a number of contender cities. I'd love to do it in Edmonton, in part because that's where the legendary Karen Strawn lives, but also Vancouver, where Janice Fiumengo lives. The other two contender cities are Toronto, and I wrote to Jordan Peterson a couple of weeks ago, emailed him on his university address. He still hasn't got back to me, lazy bugger. And the other one is what's the other one? Calgary after the Stampede.
I would maybe you could try to contact his daughter Michaela. She is, I think, a bit more social media savvy, and I think Jordan is still dealing with the backlash of his health problems. Also, there was apparently a very, very bad article written about Jordan last weekend, so they have problems at the moment.
That's a wonderful idea, Philip, and I've just taken a note of it. And we actually did a piece on it. It was an interview by a Sunday Times journalist called Decca Aikenhead. And Decca Aikenhead, I mean, I only know her for one thing, and that's for a long series of articles in the Sunday Times interviewing prominent feminists, Laura Bloody Bates, Caroline Criado Perez, Jess Phillips, and they are all fawning. There's not a word of criticism in them. So she had this 2.5 hour video interview with Jordan Peterson and Michaela, and she basically attributed his views to toxic masculinity. It was just shocking, but the comment stream underneath it was absolutely gold. Like there were like 1,000 within 2 hours or 3 hours, and they all said, "This is outrageous! How dare you bring these criticisms of this." I mean, even the New York Times, which is like the America's Guardian, call him the world's most important public intellectual. They said, "How dare you bloody throw this shit at this extraordinary man. And it's a fantastic interview. But you know, I put the whole of the text up there. But no, she's an interesting cookie, Michaela. She's on. I don't know if you guys know, but on the Lion diet.
Yeah.
Which is pretty well 100% red meat, almost all beef. But she had. I mean, I've just finished 12 Rules of Life. I wish I'd read it 2 years ago. It is the most stunning book I've read in maybe 20 years. I don't know.
And with that, I will hand the microphone over back to Eccentrik Hat.
I'm sorry.
Because you interrupted him again. Put the tape back on. Hat, tell us a bit more about your journey in university, please.
Well, trying to survive has caused me to grow a lockdown beard. You know, it's to be honest almost as full and thick as yours, Elizabeth. Yeah, like I took a seminar for history, and this is discussing research methods. History is just the lens that I've chosen to look through it, but like research methods is about how you would gather the data. You know, like the history is not really overly relevant. But our module leader, who was teaching us, is a historian herself, and brought up an example of a research proposal, which is what we're going to write, about studying hill walkers and why there are not enough female hill walkers. And also she talked about that she's currently looking into female footballers, and she said the Scottish female football team is better than the men's. She said controversial, but it's true.
Wow! I look forward to that match. I look forward to that match.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, how are you going to test that unless you put them against each other? But she then went on to say that that people are not as interested in female football, and that's because historically women have been held back, and there's
no way it's because it's fucking boring.
Well, I mean, the thing is, as you know, anyone with half a brain could tell you, is that when it comes to sports to do with strength, you want to see the peak, and the peak will always be male. If it's a sport that doesn't involve strength, so say like dancing or gymnastics or ice skating, females dominate in those spheres, because strength is not the main quality. But if it's about strength, men will always be the most interesting. So she said it had to do with the fact that apparently professional football for women was banned in between the 1920s and 1970s. And I was kind of thinking, oh my, like during the exact same time period as conscription, I'm sure women were desperately suffering from not being able to play football while the men were forced to go and get blown apart in the Somme. Also that's been lifted for 50 years. If women's football was going to take off, it would have taken off. I think it's perfectly fine if people want to support any kind of sport for any people. If they want to support women's football or women's basketball, that is totally fabulous. But if you're going to pretend that women can compete with men, that's just ignorant, and it's just ignoring basic facts. It's kind of like saying men could get pregnant if people gave them enough encouragement. As I said, I went into this new seminar for the new for the new year, and I thought, research methods dealing with history. Here's something that should be pretty vanilla, and immediately got, why are there not enough female hill walkers, and what the hell is going on with women footballers? And I was like, the fuck does this have to do with research? You know, like, I'm so sick of everything. Everything has to be about women all the time. You know, there's no escape.
No, but it's kind of implicit on your course, really, Hat. I mean, you have volunteered for this living hell.
Well, I mean, I volunteered to go into gender studies to see what it was like in the Dragon's Lair, but that doesn't mean that, you know, that doesn't mean that I'm open to all social sciences being corrupted this way. You know, like it feels like I'm living in one massive ovary.
Yeah.
May I ask all the participants, and we talked about that briefly in another segment. I think that men are going to be pushed out of the university more and more and more, especially social science, obviously. And I see it here in our local community that boys are actually leaving the school at the age of 16, and they go into like fishing, like the fisheries, and carpenters and stuff like that. So I'm worried that men and women just live completely separate lives, and that men actually start to go more towards masculine professions and like hardworking jobs, and women occupy the intellectual sphere, so to speak. And what we saw in America and what we see in Britain with the stark divide between the intellectual elites and the working class people, that might become more and more prominent between the genders as well. Do you think I have a point there?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think no, absolutely, Philip. And one of the features, of course, of the things that women are going into is that they're taxpayer funded, and overwhelmingly, and men in the UK pay 3/4 of the income tax. So basically, you know, men are funding their own muggers. Basically, that
a lot of entrepreneurs though who are quite, you know, successful, who are men, never went to university.
That's true.
Well, though.
Yep.
But you're right, Elizabeth. I mean, entrepreneurialism is so overwhelmingly a male thing, because men are willing to lose. And
because women were historically held back.
Indeed. But I think, you know, for every successful entrepreneur, there's like 100 men who failed. A lot of them went bankrupt. A lot of them committed suicide.
Yeah.
So, but women don't want that shit. I mean, they want the upside of everything and the downside of nothing. So it's women who apply for grants from the government, and so you know, to set up in business. You know, if they succeed, they get the upside. If they fail, you and I, Philip, pay. Well, I don't, because I don't pay income tax, obviously. But it's, you know, it's a gravy train. It's a gravy train.
By the way, we received a couple of questions, quite a few of them from David Robertson. Hi, David. Shall I read the first question and we can respond to it? David Robertson. Hi, from very north of the border, prompted by the research point, with the election possibly coming up, other than freedom of informations that seldom get a response, what would be a way to find out what government funding for male charity is in comparison to female and trans? I would say freedom of information requests are probably the best. What's important with freedom of information is that the questions are short and very clear, because if if you ask several questions, and if it's a large topic, then they actually, as far as I know, they don't have to answer it. But if it's very specific questions, they have to answer it. Is that correct, Mike?
I think so. I mean, that was my experience, I got to say. But
shall we do another one?
I was going to say, there is a certain art in FOI requests, and you sort of learn your way around the system after a time. But it's a very powerful tool. You used correctly, but again, sort of time consuming, and yeah, but it's worth doing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There is a question to you, Het, from Vernon. Are you going to write a book about your experience?
I would love to get this out in some form, whether that's a book or a series of videos or anything. I have collected a huge amount of information, stored it all away, and intend to work through it in a great amount of detail, because that's why I put myself through this. It wasn't just for my own curiosity. I wanted to do something meaningful, and contribute to the community, and I was in the prime situation to do exactly this. I have a keen interest in social sciences. I went for a couple of great years at college. I did exceptionally well. I got A's. I was lauded by the head of the department, and I thought, I'm going to take the goodwill and the knowledge that I have, and I'm going to go into this feminist sphere, because I want to see what it's like. I want to see how they treat me, because I know that I'm good enough to be there. I'm not saying that I'm the best student they've ever had, but I know that I'm good enough to be there. I want to see how they treat me when they know what I think, whether they're fair and rational, or whether their bias precludes them from giving me a chance. And I want to take this field research, because that's what I'm doing. Being in this class is not for me to learn how to be a social scientist. I know how to do that. I'm actually using my social science knowledge to conduct a live study of what it's like to be in an academic curricula that is so ridiculously skewed.
Can I just say, Het, if you're looking for a prestigious major international publisher, you couldn't do better than LPS Publishing. That's lpspublishing.wordpress.com. They'll publish your book.
Do you get a free pen every time you say that, Mike?
Well, I sort of run it, but no, there's no free pens. But no. So I've published a few things, including William Collins's The Empathy Gap, Herbert Purdy's Their Angry Creed, Swano Pye's book, and a few others. So no, but if you're interested, Het, as long as you don't want silly things like advances, obviously that's. I'm sure I can throw a $5 over by PayPal. But if it sounds like an interesting project. It could be something that I'd want to invest some time in.
Well, I mean, it's not just what's happened in class, but I've had to redo this entire year, because last year the university, the department, did their absolute best to kick me out on spurious accusations. Accusations such as the teacher felt threatened and harassed. And I said to the disciplinary committee that had to interview me, I said, what did I threaten her with? And they said, no, you didn't threaten her, but you made her feel threatened, which is just as bad.
I mean, the long and the short of it, Het, is no commercial publisher in the world will touch your book with a barge pole, but LPS Publishing will. So I'll leave it at that.
It's wonderful to know.
I would like to read one more tweet from David Robertson. He wrote, also may be worth looking at the statement from Rape Crisis Scotland and how they had evidence suppressed. David, I would be quite interested in that. Please contact me through the website GenderParityUK. Just send me an email with that topic, that information. I'd be quite interested in that. And then I would like to answer Zio Gold. He wrote, "What did I walk into?" Hi, Zio Gold. We are 4 people interested in issues, working on different areas of men's issues, and we are having a chat with each other. If you have any question about men's issues, now is the time to send us a question. Any more questions from the audience?
Well, I mean, because it's not live, we're on a delay, and then they have to type it. It's probably not best to sit and wait. But I'm sure there will be plenty more before the hour is up. Yeah, like I'm so glad to be able to do something productive with this, because I must admit it has been a lot harder than I expected. You know, especially having to do it twice. Because last year, you know, they suspended me for 5 weeks whilst they investigated me. They found nothing, but they still gave me a list of demands that I had to meet if I wanted to return, to which I took it to their seniors and said, this is unreasonable if I haven't been found guilty of anything. And their seniors went, oh, shit. So they reworded all the demands to basically mean nothing. Essentially, they were all kind of neutered. You know, so I am doing my best, knowing that, you know, the department doesn't want me. It's not easy. You know, it's a very disheartening environment, and if it wasn't for the community and the support of friends and family, especially during this period, you know, because everybody's suffering right now. Like, you know, everybody is having a horrible time of it. So if it wasn't for such a welcoming, warm, fraternal bond that this community has, I don't think I would be able to make it.
So can I just say, Hat, you are basically a dose of polonium-210 in the body of the department you're in.
Well, I would like to think that that they are used to getting their own way so much that I really I really gave them something to think about last year when I fought back. I think they I think they're used to people just rolling over, and they're used to their bosses just rolling over as well. When I exposed them, I mean, because it was the head of the department who gave me this list of demands, and when I took it to her boss, and her boss had to then rewrite that really shows up the head of the department. That makes her look terrible. You know, so I mean, they just said the most ridiculous things to me when they first met me, because they didn't think that I was capable of answering back. You know, they said to me, the head of the department said, if you knew you weren't going to agree with your lecturer, why did you take the course? You know, like, what an absolutely obscene thing to ask in a university. So yeah, like I answered back, and I got myself a lawyer, and, you know, was very, very careful about how I dealt with it. And I don't think they expected that. I think they are used to bullying, and they're used to crying crocodile tears. And I really hope that they'll think twice about doing this to the next student.
The shocking thing, obviously, because you entered gender studies, I think your experience was in parts to be expected. Unfortunately, it will be very similar to all social sciences, especially psychology, for example. if you have a male-friendly approach or an approach that doesn't view masculinity as intrinsically problematic, I think you have similar problems like you're having now had.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely to be expected, but just like what we all do, just because it's the norm doesn't mean that it should be accepted.
That is absolutely true.
I think that it's a very good point you make there, Philip. I mean, something like 90% of psychology graduates, I mean, probably for 20 or 30 years have been women. And regarding men, which is the most amazing bunch of people. So Paul Elam, Janice Fiamengo, Tom Golden did a piece on a very influential group within the APA, the American Psychological Association or something. And that group state very openly on their website that they are beholden and to feminist research and critiques and so on. It's right there. But, they don't hide it, you know.
I have to say there is absolutely no problem in having a feminist approach if some people have it, but if that is the overarching, like if you are being kicked out of the field, if you don't obey by feminist ideology, then there's a huge problem. I would like to, because we're slowly running out of time, I would like to read an interesting question by Zio Gold, who accidentally ran into this program. His question is, guys, or you guys sound like MRAs. My question is this: why is it that MRAs are getting lumped in with incels, neckbeards, PUAs, and other women haters? Who wants to go first?
Well, that one's easy. It's because feminism has a great PR department.
Okay, Mike Buchanan.
Yeah, I would point people to a piece that Regarding Men put out 2 days ago, which is called "We Are All Terrorists Now."
Yeah,
and that was all about the conflation of MRAs, PUAs, incels, and so on, as all very dangerous people. So,
I would like to say something in defense of incels, neckbeards, PUAs, because you wrote "and other women haters." Not incels are not per se women haters, even though there are incels that are women haters. But there are different, like in every part of society, there are different people. Amongst PUAs, there are people that respect women and that just want to help other guys to overcome their social anxieties. And then there are some PUAs that are real players and that don't respect women. So I think you have to look at all these people on a personal level, and some of the people actually there are quite a few people that started as pickup artists and are now family fathers and are now strongly opposed to pickup artistry and promote family values. So, and why are we lumped together with them? Because in one way or the other, we all care about man, but in different parts of the manosphere. We are definitely not the same. But because we all focus on male issues, there is an overarching umbrella under which we are sometimes lumped together, especially if people want to attack us. The big difference between MRAs and the other groups is MRAs look at legal issues, legal and societal issues where men are actively being discriminated against, and we are trying to change that. Absolutely not to the detriment of women. We are all about equality. Sorry, that was a long rant.
No. You're absolutely right. But the thing that unites us, and it's something that came out very strongly in this regarding men video was that the only thing that unites us is our hostility, our criticism of feminism, because feminism is a female supremacy movement. It damages men by definition. How could it not? And so I'd recommend everyone to check that out.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the thing that we have in common in the men's rights movement is the belief in equality. Much the same way that feminists claim. But the thing that separates us is that is all we believe, equality. Whereas if you're a feminist, as much as they love to say, all you need to do is believe in gender equality, and that's what makes you a feminist. If you're a feminist, you can't be a feminist unless you also agree with the wage gap, unless you agree with rape culture, unless you agree with patriarchy, unless you agree with toxic masculinity. You have to then tick all those boxes, whereas we don't have that. We only have, if you think that men and women deserve the same rights and opportunities, even if we disagree about what those rights and opportunities should be, ultimately, if you agree that they should be the same across the board, then you are welcome in this movement. And that is including incels and pickup artists, because they get a very, very bad name because feminism wants to make all of its enemies synonymous. It wants to say that an MRA is an incel, is a pickup artist, is a misogynist. We have stark differences, but we all get a bad rap. Because they want us to. Incels are just people who are struggling with society standards about having sex. It's a bit ridiculous that a young woman who doesn't feel pretty and isn't regarded as beautiful, she's a victim, but a young man who's laughed at because he has a small penis or because he has a rubbish job or lives with his parents, he's an incel, and that's wrong. Like he's a problem for society. That young woman, she's a shining star that society has abused. That young man is a limpet. He's a leech hanging off society and taking everything from it. So basically, these groups get bad names. Only a handful of any of them do any damage, which is the exact same for any demographic. And we are fighting for equality. So if that's what you want, then welcome aboard.
I would like to give the last word over to Elizabeth. But I would like to say one last thing, and that's from ICMI 2019. There was a guy, he was asked about the incel community in an interview, and he said that there are different stages and that there are stages of anger, and within the incel community you are welcome to voice your anger, but then you are supported to move out of the anger into more productive emotions and create a community where people look after each other, and where you can, and the question is, where does the anger come from? The anger comes from loneliness and feeling ignored and overlooked by society. And this loneliness and this anger can, of course, be directed in the wrong direction. And so it is good if there is a proactive community that helps young people to get out of this negative emotion. Elizabeth.
Hello, I've got boys here now, so it's all getting a bit noisy here. But yeah, I very much agree with what you've been saying. I don't mind being lumped in with incels, neckbeards and PUAs, and I absolutely reject the idea that they're women haters.
Getting lumped in with Mike, well, that's the worst of all.
It certainly is.
Yeah, and keep the faith, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much.
That's
question: Are we gonna do this every week, same time, same place, or do we already have a plan?
Yeah, I'll do that.
At?
Yeah, sure.
Good. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. See you again next week, same place, same time. And I'm sure every once in a while we're going to have guests. Sometimes it will just be the three of us. Thank you so much and talk to you. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.